My name is Amir Khan, and our coaching calls are every Thursdays. It is exactly 40 minutes, so it's not a long call. And just for those who are joining us for the first time, hey, Major, I'm gonna make you. How do I make you co-host? I'll make host. Okay, I got you. All right, so go ahead and
Yeah, sorry I logged in the wrong account.
no worries. So right now you're host, so I won't be able to end the call, so you'll have to move it back to me. Is that correct?
No problem.
Right. Okay, cool. All right, so like I was saying, the format of these calls are some weeks we have a topic that I choose and I talk about it, and it's obviously obvious specific to slow flips, and I like to keep with the fundamentals. And then some weeks we have a guest. So today we have a guest, Dana Kiernan, and Dana is a member, has been a member for a while. I don't know the details, and that's why she's here. And please also remember that, I invite people, people who are who've been in the program for a few months, who've been in the program for more than a year. You can always learn from someone. So don't think if somebody is just a few steps ahead of you, maybe you can learn from them. You can always learn. All right. So having said that, can you please keep your mics muted because it's there's just too much noise. And I do want to say hi to all the people who've joined us tonight, because when we have the recording up, you cannot see who was on the call unless you are speaking. So I like to just read out your names. Hi, Michael. I see Bill, Christian. I see Chuck. I see Eric. I see Eric and Mary, Felicia, Gina, Heather, uh, Avavlo, Jason, Jess, Jing. I see Maya. I see another Michael. I see Patrick. I see Renee. I see Rick. I see Stephen. I see Timothy. So thank you so much for joining. So having said that, Dana, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, Amir. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Dana. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
Good, good, good. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. So just going to ask you a couple of questions. The focus is about your first slow flip, so we'll probably ask you more questions about your first slow flip. But let's start with just your background. Just tell us about yourself before you joined the slow flip program. What was your background? What kind of a career you come from and all that kind of stuff.
Sure. So I have a sales and marketing background. I am still a W-2 employee, so I do still unfortunately have my day job. Hopefully that'll be phasing out sooner than later in my eyes. So again, sales and marketing background, which I've been doing forever. I got into this, actually, I actually started looking for this program, to be honest with you. I know it's a little bit different than most people. I had just a little bit of real estate experience prior, and I actually started fixing and flipping, right? And from someone who knows what they're talking about, they said, why don't you be the bank? And I thought, huh, right? Then they showed me the amortization chart. I thought, yeah, that's exactly what I want. How do I find that? This person is doing it on a ridiculously large scale. I'm like, well, that's not in my budget. How do I find this to make it work for myself? So I searched to find Scott's program. And I joined just over a year ago. I joined last February. So I look for this. I came in with a plan. I came in with a very, very lofty goal that I thought was extremely far-fetched, but I wanted to set my sights high. I'm a single mom of 3 kids, so I had my why and I stick with it every single day. So that's just a
Wonderful.
little bit about myself.
So are you still do you still have a job or are you okay?
Unfortunately, I do. Yep.
Okay. So that is one of your goal, right? To
It
exit from
sure
your
is.
W-2. Okay.
It sure is.
So okay, would you mind telling us a bit about did you do a couple of fix and flips? So do you have some experience doing fix and flips?
No, I don't at all. I was in the process. I had a property that I was trying to sell, and the numbers were not where I wanted them to be. So I just started slowly doing stuff on my own, and that led, the bigger the better, So I did do a fix and flip. I was not happy to do it, but I did reap the benefits of it. But it was not something that I knew I wanted to do, right? I wanted something that was more passive, that was something that was more long term. And again, I sought out this type of program.
Okay, perfect. So when was the exact month you joined?
Last February.
Last February.
Yeah.
All right. So now tell us about that first few months, because that's where some people are, and they're like, sometimes they get just so frustrated. Oh my God, I see all these messages on the on school, and everybody's buying, but they're buying more than one, and I'm like, I'm so stuck. So just tell us that phase so that people can relate.
Absolutely. So I came in not knowing where I wanted to be. I live in New York. I knew where I didn't want to be, which was here. Just too expensive and unreasonable. So I saw that everyone was in the Midwest, and I thought, well, you know what? If there's a proven model out there, why am I going to reinvent the wheel? Right. So I started looking out there. I started working in Illinois. I started looking in Missouri. Just looking around. I was seeing what was on school. I was messaging people, looking at offers, just seeing what's out there, right? Because I didn't know what I didn't know. This house price point was new to me, like it is to everyone else. I actually ultimately did find a realtor out in Illinois. Worked with a few different people because it takes time to find someone. And ultimately I realized that also wasn't right for me at the time. Okay, things are different now, but at the time it wasn't right for me because I didn't have the time. Right. It's just if I can dedicate, I know I have to carve out time to be looking for the houses and doing everything, but I don't have the time to be meeting with someone and doing the walkthroughs and everything. So I thought, you know what, for me at the moment, it was going to be easier for me to buy a property through someone in the group. Okay. So ultimately I kind of switched gears for the past, year. And I bought my first property within the group, actually all of my properties in the group.
Okay, wonderful. So let's go back one more time. So you said a couple of things. Number one, the decision that you made about where you're going to buy. So you very quickly made the decision that you don't have to reinvent the wheel, which was very important. A lot of people just get stuck in that itself, right? So if you,
Right.
for example, you live in Texas, and so the first idea comes to you that, oh, maybe I should buy in Texas. And that does make sense if you come from the traditional model and, traditional, real estate background, which means, buy close to where you live, especially if it's your first property. But you understood how this model works and how people were buying. So instead of just wasting your time, you kind of decided that, first of all, here's where all the people are. Did you decide on, like, did you just say that you're going to stick with these 4 or 5 markets, or did you decide on one state, or did you decide you're going to work in 3 different states and look at different cities?
Good question. So I started off just in the main areas in Illinois and in Missouri. I ultimately, a lot of my properties right now are in Decatur. I right now I feel comfortable there. I have my team there. I'm using the fillers, which I know we'll get into, doing stuff on my own too. So I feel comfortable there. I do have properties in other parts of Illinois as well. I do also have a little bit in Ohio. But
Okay, but hold on. So see, that's what I'm getting at, because if somebody who's at that stage, they're going back and forth with a whole bunch of issues. Number one,
okay, I hear you. So
the issue that with Illinois right now, we have this issue. Well, you have all of these things going on, and then we are taught that you need to stay with states that are landlord friendly, right? So kind of talk about that, or did you just bypass that and just made a decision?
So the way I work, I don't like to completely overthink things because it's analysis paralysis. I mean, that's my personal opinion, right? So I knew that Missouri was more landlord friendly than Illinois, but quite frankly, there are more houses in Illinois. And I thought, you know what? If I wait for something, the perfect situation, it's going to be long gone. So for me personally, I thought, you know what? Let me start here. And then I thought ultimately, okay, I'll move to Missouri. I'll move to wherever. But then I liked it, right? And it's working out for me. Now, who's to say tomorrow could be a new story, but that could be anywhere, right? There's never going to be a perfect situation. I mean, my advice would be look at everything and then hone in on one area, at least to start, get comfortable there. I mean, I know Scott always talks about buy one house, make sure it's, and then make sure you're selling it, do everything step by step, don't rush it. But at the same time, also don't overthink it to the point where you're not doing anything.
Great, that's excellent. All right, so now let's talk about your first slow flip. How did you come about it? You kind of mentioned that you bought it from the group, but during that period when you were looking for your first slow flip, were you also looking at the MLS, or were you strictly working with people within the school and you wanted to buy from them. So just walk us through that process.
I was doing a little bit of both. At first I was only looking at MLS. I was looking within the group, but really speaking with different realtors. But then I started phasing out because it does become a big time crunch, and I didn't have that bandwidth. So I thought, you know what, let me just focus within the group. Let me just keep watching. Let me see what people are posting. And I was looking, and I realized, okay, Illinois is really, there seems to be more availability here. So this is where I'm going to focus. A house came about and I thought, you know what? It just clicked with me, right? So I quickly sent a message, is it still available? I want it. It was, and I went with it, right? Again, I wasn't going to overthink everything, right? Because if you overthink it, it's going to be gone. It's going to be sold to the next person. So that's just how I work. So I reached out to that person in mid-April. So it's been a couple months and closed, I think 2 weeks later. So
Perfect. All right. Sorry to interrupt there, but I do want to know. Tell us about the underwriting. What is your process? I know you moved on it really quick, so that's great. That's excellent. But I'm sure you did some analysis. Walk us through your process. What did you do?
So I did not, I'm going to say this, but don't do what I did. I did not send my own person out. I looked at the pictures, I looked at the videos, and I spoke with the person who was wholesaling it. That was just me. I will say though to everyone here, don't do what I do. Find your own person also. I say that because I've gotten burned.
Mhm.
It's going to happen even within the group. It's just reality, right? You're putting your trust. I mean, it's anywhere from what, 20 to up to $50,000, depending on where you're looking. It's a lot of money, right? So could you trust someone? Yeah, if you get to know them. But even then, I've had many houses. I've had issues, I'm going through a roller coaster with one of them now. But I would say, I mean, for me, I looked at the pictures, I asked questions. I did not send my own person out. That's just what I did.
Thank you so much, Dana, for saying that. This is so important for everybody to hear that, yes, within our group, if somebody is selling and they're part of the community, there's a little bit more trust. But that's about it. Beyond that, they're wholesaling. They bought a property, they did their analysis. As far as they're concerned, it is your money. At the end, you're going to sign, you're going to do the business. You cannot come back and blame them for something. So thank you for saying that. That is very, very important for everybody to know. And thank you for being transparent that you actually made a decision by using some gut feel, especially in your first deal, right? But then
Yeah.
as you learn, you got better with that.
Yep.
Now, walk us through the deal, if you don't mind sharing the numbers, where
Sure.
it is, and then the filling process for that same slow flip, and then, how it has been doing.
Yep, no problem. So that one, again, I bought it in the end of April. It was on the higher side. That was like about $40,000. The reason I did that for my first one is because it was a 4-bedroom, right? So you don't come across 4 bedrooms too often. So I thought, you know what, this is going to hopefully help me stand out, right? I mean, that's few and far between for most houses, but that's what I wanted to do for my first one. It ended up filling. I used the fillers within the group. Just so you know, I use the fillers. There are times I also market it myself, which I'll get into in a minute. But for this specific one, I did use the fillers. It filled within 2 weeks. It was super quick, super easy. For a family, they needed a place for themselves, their kids. They needed a fenced-in yard. They had a family. It was a family with special needs. So what I found with this one and some other ones, these people, they're so grateful, right? I get notes from them all the time. But I will tell you that they are still in there a year later. We have our ups and downs with them paying. I did almost have to evict them over the summer for non-payment, but they are up to speed. They haven't paid March yet, but they did pay February, so I'll take it. It's a win. But honestly, it was a really seamless process from start to finish, I have to say.
Okay, so let's talk about the numbers.
Oh
Did
yeah,
you
sorry. So yeah,
did you self-finance it? I wanted to know about the financing part. Did you?
No, that one I bought in cash.
So your
Yep.
own funds.
I am, yeah. So
Okay,
that
got
one
it.
I paid $40,000. I sold it for $94,000. So that was 2,500 down. and it was $10.25 a month.
That's pretty good. That is pretty good. And I'm assuming because you bought it at that price point, the property is in really, really good condition.
It's in okay condition. You know, it's not really great. I mean, it's Decatur. If we know anything about Decatur, it is what it is, right? But and honestly, it could have commanded a higher monthly income. At 10.25, there was all stuff in it. People
So
out there,
10.25 is
I
including
didn't want to do anything for this one.
10.25 including taxes, or okay.
Yes.
All right, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
the way
Because
I do it, I include taxes in mine, insurance as well. I did not want to clean out this house. I didn't want to put another dime into it. So had I done that, I could have commanded a bit of a higher price, but that was personal preference. I wanted it bought and sold immediately. That was my goal, and that's what I did.
Okay, perfect. That is awesome. And also what you shared about the tenant buyer, which is very typical. You know, you will have someone, as long as they're paying, as long as they're not more than 30 days delinquent, that's not an issue. And as long as they're communicating, see, that's the other thing, at least what I've learned. I have this one tenant, she's actually a investor, and she's late, but whenever I send her a message, she always responds, and then she ends up paying. So I might as well just, keep it's not a big deal. So that's another thing that you have to learn, right, as you go along, that nothing is going to be perfect. As long as the funds come in at the end of the day, you should be fine with that. All right, very good. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. Now tell us about how did you then and where you are now, how many slow flips you have, and where do you have them, just to give us an idea, and I have a few other questions.
Sure. So to date, I have 10. The majority of them are still in Decatur. It's really a market that I've really taken a liking to, and I'm just comfortable there. I have one in East St. Louis. I have another one out in Toledo, but really my base is Decatur for the moment.
Okay. All right. And so tell us about the mix. 4-bedroom was a one-off thing maybe, because first of all, you don't find that many four ones. Do you look for a certain configuration, 2-1s, 3-1s, or whatever comes in, and you would run your numbers?
Yeah, I run my numbers based on what comes in. My one in East St. Louis is a 4-bedroom as well, really technically 4 to 6, depending on how you look at it. But that's isolated, right? The majority of mine are 2-1s, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. That's just, it is what it is. And frankly, I find that's what goes faster. For example, my last 2 in Decatur, I have one that I just bought last month, and it's a 3-bedroom, 2 bath. And then I find that, my 2-1s go faster than that. It's just people, at least in the area that I'm working, the 2-1s, they go very fast. That's what people are looking for.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So tell us your process now. Like, let's say if you're looking for a house now, what would be your process, your underwriting process? First of all, do you still only buy within the group? Do you also buy from the MLS, wholesale? Tell us how you're doing it.
So I have started to switch a little bit what I'm doing. I am looking more on the MLS. I'm also starting to do a little bit of wholesaling myself, or slow selling as we call it. So I'm just starting that change in the past few months. So that is, fairly new to me. I still, for the convenience until I'm out of my day job, I'm going to look for, a little bit of wholesaling, using some realtors, but primarily in the group. I'm not reinventing the wheel.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. All right. That's wonderful. So, what is your goal? How many are you thinking about? How many slow flips do you want?
My goal is 60. I was actually just thinking this morning, I'm like, I know I just closed on one last month, but I have that itch again. So I need to readjust my goals for this year. I mean, last year I was so buttoned up with exactly. I mean, I came into this with, okay, no, I'm starting in February. My goal is 8 to 10. I want 10. I ended with 9. So I thought, okay, well, I'm 90% to my big scary goal. I'll take it. Right. But this year I have to reevaluate because obviously, finding that private money is, I know I'm speaking to the expert here, but for me is a challenge, right? So
Well, let's talk about that because I'm sure everybody's curious. Well, how did she do the other one? So let's talk about that. So first one was self-funded, or were there more self-funded?
There were a bunch that were self-funded. I'm a worker. I've always had like 3 jobs, including my normal day job. So I'm a hustler. Um, it's just me. But other than that, just private money, just talking to people here and there. But it's not, for me personally, it's not in the scale that I want it to be. But I know my problem. My problem is I work from home, right? And with my
Mm.
kids, I don't get out much. So I don't, like say, I'm not scared to talk to anyone. I'll do it in the right way, but I don't talk to people because I don't get out enough. All right. So that's my issue that I have to figure out a way to overcome. I am also looking into, those companies that do the funding as well. I don't want to, but I think I will ultimately get there, because if I'm going to keep purchasing at the rate that I want to be this year, I need to figure something out.
Also, you're in an excellent position to, if you do bring a private money lender, is to present them with your portfolio,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you have producing tenant buyers in there, so you're actually selling them on an idea that you have a producing asset rather than something which is a little bit harder. When you're really just
Exactly.
saying that I'm going to buy a property, then I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this. Well, now you're actually um, in really good position. Not just that you have performing assets, but you actually have a portfolio. Do you see how it works? So you're actually in really good position to talk to private money lenders about this. You have experience with both, and also you bought them with your own money. I mean, they will look at you really, really serious. Oh wow, she actually went and did it herself with her own money.
Well, I did notice the few people that I was a little, I don't want to say scared to talk to, but one who has done this on a ridiculously large scale. I was like, all
Mm.
right, good for you. So, well, if you know anyone, right? So I talked to him, I talked to my new accountant, someone else who, you know, is a realtor who, buys and holds around my area. It's like, what are you up to? I said, let me tell you what I'm up to. And I told him. He goes, huh? I said, yeah, so, ever looking for anyone, who you know anyone? He goes, well, what about me? I thought, well, let's talk. Right. So I still have to have that conversation. But yeah, I agree. I can prove, I have the background to prove it. So
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Okay, I'm almost done with questions. If you guys have any questions, click on, I guess, react and raise your hand and I'll call on you. Like I said, this call is exactly 40 minutes, so we have exactly 10 minutes left. So if you want to ask a question, please raise your hand now. And if I can't get to you, then you can always DM Dana the question that you have. All right, so Dana, that was excellent the way you explained it. Um, so you're still using your funds, and you're going to keep doing that till you figure out the private lending part, so you can scale. So what is your goal for this year? How many more slow flips are you planning on buying this year?
I hate to even answer that because I'm not happy with my number. I want to say between 5 and 10. I think that's more realistic, but I want to be higher.
Cool. Now, last question about filling. I know you already mentioned that, but I just want to make sure. Uh, you're still using fillers in the community. You're not filling your own slow flips.
You know what? I am doing a mix. I have filled, I think, 3 of my own. So, for
How was
example,
that experience? Tell us about that.
I don't like to post anything on social media. That's just me. Because, I keep things around myself very private. I've been posting for sale by owner on Zillow.
Hmm.
I get a lot of traction that way. I've sold, again, 3 houses, and I have another one that my other one, that's my last one, that's vacant. I have someone who wants to go look tomorrow, and they found me on Zillow. And also, through the other thing I do is I spread the word. Some of my tenant buyers that I'm in contact with, they'll say, oh, money's tight, this and that. And say, well, if you ever know anyone looking, to purchase a house similar to how you did, put them in contact with me, right? If I'm able to find them a house, I'll give you a referral fee. So I mean, that part has not worked out, but it can't hurt. I mean, I feel like it's similar to private money. I don't want them to know what I'm doing on such a large scale, but just a select few of them, I think, has benefited. But really, on Zillow, which I know there's better solutions out there, but that's what I'm using. It's free, so right now it's for me.
And it's
It does,
working.
yeah, it's working. It takes time, but it has worked.
Perfect. All right, great. So let's take some questions. Michael, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hey Dana, thanks for the time. Three quick questions for you. How long did it take you to pull the trigger in your first house, and what was blocking you? You know, if that took you a while. I mean, was it 1 or 2 months?
It wasn't long. I joined last February. I purchased my first one in April.
Okay, so there was 4 months there, and it was that a
Well, it
long?
was really, it was like 2 months, and really what that was I was looking in school, getting familiar, figuring out where I wanted to be. I was also looking on MLS and with some realtors. So it wasn't that long. It really wasn't.
Okay, cool. And next question: what's the worst thing that's happened to you so far in this journey?
Oh, good question. I've had a lot. I've had squatters 3 times in one house. So that was fun after I cleaned it out to, fill it. Yeah, that is a really good question. Actually, I had a flood with squatters in another house. That was probably my worst. I made a not so great investment, but any not so great investment will still turn out to be a good investment in the long run. But I guess the majority I've had squatters in my places, and it's not easy. I mean, I got a call one Friday night from the sheriff.
Mhm.
That's never fun. They, pulled in a van. They were doing quite a few illegal things there, but I got through it. Just have to roll with it. There's always that roller coaster.
How much have these incidents cost you in your 1 year journey so far?
Mm.
Between evictions, sheriff,
You know
whatever.
what? I have dealt with quite a few lawyers. Never gone full on the eviction process. Each eviction, well, the lawyer fee, legal fees have probably around like $500 to $700 each. My first house that I had a few different squatters in, what ended up happening there was I sold it at a lower price point. Because I'm like, you know what, I fixed this house up, and then the broken windows, they moved the trailer in, and they put a fence around it. It was like Walter White phrase, truly. Right? But I thought, you know what? I'm gonna find an investor, and I'm gonna just bring the price down because it's not worth my energy. I need to get it filled. So that's what I did. So, it's not the best ROI, but it's still good.
Mhm.
So I'd say
Okay.
again, I try not to really overthink it, because if I overthink it, I'm not meeting my goals.
Okay. I'll let Jay go or Jess go, and I might have another one. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, Jessica, go ahead, unmute yourself.
Did you mean Jess? Is there Jessica?
Yes, sorry, Jess, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Thanks, Amir, for putting this on, and thank you, Dana, for jumping on the call. I'm kind of on the same path as you, Dana. I'm going to be self-funding a handful of SlowFlips, and it's a month and a half in. I've been looking through all the replays and been through all the training. I'm just curious to know, what are you using for your management? Are you using Anago, Buildium?
I am using Inago right now.
Okay. All right. And thank you. And I also have to get over the hurdle of talking to potential PMLs as well. So I get that, and I'm working through that. And you got to step out of your comfort zone a little bit. And I do work from home myself, so I don't get out a lot. So it'd be great to create a connection with you, and I'll reach out to you because I think I'm on the same path as you, and maybe amongst a lot of people as well. So thank you so much for putting this on. I appreciate the time.
All right, next up is Bill. Go ahead, unmute yourself.
Hey, how are you? Oh, knockout questions. Love listening to you ask people. If I want to know something, I love listening to you interrogate them. Well done. Anyway, Dana, thank you very much. What area do you live in New York? I'm in New York as well.
I'm from Westchester County. I'm in Rockland now.
Okay, I'm on Long Island.
Okay,
I'm
nice.
not too far from you. Good to know.
Mhm.
Zillow, I thought that was a great idea. I think these are probably the kind of deals and houses we probably all were looking at. We're looking for on Zillow. I look on Zillow, and I don't bother with a lot of them. Um, because I don't want to deal with real estates, and where I'm from, with New York, where you're from too, houses are crazy here. So but these kind of deals, putting them on Zillow, there can't be many of these on Zillow, right? And you put the financing on there as well. You let them know how the financing is.
The way I do it is I put it under the rent section because I want that small dollar amount, that small monthly payment, but I
So you
fill it
couldn't
out.
fund
But
it as
here's the
a
thing.
rental.
No, I list it as a rental, but my first line is for sale by owner, no credit checks. And I spell it out. And anyone who messages me, I'm very clear. This is a
So,
contract deed. You know
so
what
the
that is?
rental market really is your market because you can make it easier to buy your house than for them to rent a house.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
brilliant.
and what I found was, and I did do it both ways. In the beginning, I did it for sale by owner, right? But you see, even if it's say $77,000, or if you do the dollar amount, you're getting us, you're getting investors who are going to lowball you, right? So you sell a house, even if it's for $70,000, and you spell it all out. Oh, hey, can I buy it for 15? No. So that was not my audience. So for me, I found that doing it the rental way and saying, for sale by owner. Why rent when you can own? Same things that people are posting on Facebook, just in a different platform.
But the target market was dead balls on. Wow, great idea, great thought.
Thanks.
What else did I want to ask? So, did you sell your house with squatters?
Yep. Well, kind of. I was in the process of getting them out. So there was the one I sold was to an investor who was very familiar with the situation.
Okay, so you don't know how hard it is to get rid of squatters.
I have done it there twice.
You have, okay. What's that like? What's that like, and how long does that take?
So it didn't take me all that long, and I've done it, twice, and actually in 2 different houses now. I sent, I actually with my second one, I did cash for keys, which is it sucks, but it's reality,
It's
right? You have these
reality.
people that moved into a house that they never had rights to, and I have to pay them to leave. Like, it sucks, but that's the reality. So I had to do that and pay for the legal fees because I had a parallel path, right? I had to send the notices and ultimately have a court date set, which thank God it didn't have to happen. I got them out. But the first one, I had a call from, my tenant buyer was there, and he said, the squatters are back. He goes, but the sheriff is calling you because even though I have the contract for deed, you're listed. They're going to call you within a half hour. I'm like, okay, it's 10 o'clock on a Friday night. Yeah, I'll talk to the sheriff. He's like, are these people supposed to be there? Do you want them? No, kick them out, let them, make them leave. So it has cost me money, but I have to, think in my mind, that's only just a small part, right? That's only a blip. Yes, it could happen again. And quite frankly, it has happened again. It happened a couple of months ago. I got a notice that out there it happened again. What
did cash for keys end up costing you?
Oh, it was great, actually. That part was the only good part about this house. It was only $300.
That's great.
I'm dealing with I'm dealing with issues out there with them, but the cash for keys part was easy.
Does the sheriff actually kick them out?
Yeah. Yeah, the sheriff gives notice. So I had, even with that was my first one that I talked about, that was I was trying to evict them over the summer because they didn't pay for a few months. The sheriff went to their house, right? I put the notice on, the sheriff went to their house. But I would suggest, when you guys are doing this, use the lawyers. Don't pretend or don't listen to other people. Use the lawyers. Make sure you're above board.
Good for you, single mama. Beautiful. Well done.
Thank you.
All right, guys. So we've got 5 more minutes left. So next up is Jenny. Go ahead.
Hey, I just hopped on a little bit late, so I wanted to get some clarification. Did you say a 2-1 is the best, quickest to fill?
For me, it has been.
Okay, I thought that was so interesting because I've heard from other slow flippers like the 3 and the 4 bedrooms. So I actually just told myself I'm only going to do 3 and 4s moving forward. So I thought
it depends on what your goals are. If you have more bedrooms, right, it's gonna, and I don't know which area you're looking at, but oftentimes in different areas, those are gonna go to investors, right? That's what they're looking for, right? Investors really aren't gonna look for a 2-1. I've found the families though, I have, even the ones that I listed on Zillow recently, people keep calling me. I'm like, the house sold. They want that house. Like, they want a 2-1. And it's not like it's anything great. It's not great condition. It's just your typical slow flip house, but
cool.
They're going fast.
I guess they all work then. That's
Exactly.
good to know. Thanks.
Yep.
All right. Next up is Tim. Go ahead and unmute yourself, please.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for this, Dana. It's very enlightening. Question on the actual filling process. If you could walk through a little bit more of the detail on that. So you bought the house, you wired the money to the title company, you got the house, you posted it in the fillers group, and then what kind of engagement did you get? Because sometimes I see posts from there that there's like 15 different people commenting on, and then sometimes there's not very many comments. So just curious what your experience has been with that. And then from there, what's the process? They fill the house, they get the contract signed, and then you handle taking the money and then pay them, or they pay you, or how does that work?
So I reach out to them directly, and you know, there's so many of them you guys see, and you can kind of see where their specialty lies. They take it and run with it. There's been quite a few times where I get a call, I see my phone, I'm like, did this house sell? It's like, hey, I just took a deposit. Hey, you're under contract. It's nice. I mean, like, you know, what's better than that? I'm getting a call. I'm like, I know where this is going, you know, and then they do it all. I know I don't take the money. They do it oftentimes, and I can't speak for everyone. They're usually the middle person, right? They're going to take that deposit. They're going to make sure everything is above board. And then once it is, then they transfer it over to me after taking their cut.
And they send you like all the information for the person, obviously, and then what, they just sell you or Venmo you or Cash App you the
That's
deposit?
it. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha. Cool. And you link all that with your Inago and then your payment processing system to keep track. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, next up is Michael.
Hey, I'm back. Dana, you mentioned you financed or funded the first 2 or 3 yourself. In hindsight, do you wish you had used funders right from the beginning?
No,
No. Okay,
it worked out nicely for me. So
thanks.
Mhm.
That's it.
All right, last question. Jess, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I plan to use my own portfolio in order to use that as leverage to get PMLs. But question for you, Dana, are you purchasing through trust or LLC? How are you purchasing your home?
Good question. I started off just in the LLCs. This was pre-land trust rabbit hole that we went through. I have started to transition everything over, and quite frankly, I don't know that I'm doing everything right. I did pay for the land trust course. I've been speaking with everyone. I might have to redo it again, but again, like I said before, I'm not holding things up. I'm going to go into this knowing that I'm making mistakes, but not overthinking it. So that's on my list, right? I probably have to go back and redo all the trusts that I did and then refile with the counties because I'm big about making sure that everything is above board. So in theory, yes, I'm using the land trusts. Whether I'm doing it 100% correctly, that's another story.
I hear you. I'm in the same boat. So I'm just gonna push forward and not let it stop me. Yes, I'm gonna do push this through the trust. If I structure it right or if I structure it wrong, it's not gonna stop me. I'm just gonna continue to move forward.
And feel free to reach out if you want to talk offline. Absolutely.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, guys. So we run out of time. Thank you, Dana, so much for being here today. I appreciate your time, and thank you, everyone. And Bill, I know you have a question. You can go ahead and send a DM to Dana, and she'll be happy to answer. We'll see you all next week. Thank you. Bye.